Revealed, 10 sinister Appalachian cabins with haunted secrets you must discover now. Mia tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her knuckles white as she cruised down the empty road. Every shadow felt alive, watching her. The legends whispered of cabins hidden in the woods, where families had vanished without a trace, their cries swallowed by the night. The diner buzzed with murmurs of the cursed past, but she pushed those stories aside, focusing on her children at home. After all, bills didn't pay themselves. She pulled into the dimly lit diner parking lot after her late shift, heart racing from the thought of facing the chill that came with the midnight air. The trees loomed like sentinels, guarding the secrets of the forest. Just get to the car, she told herself, but every snap of a twig made her nerves jump. A chill wind bristled against her, whispering words she couldn't hear. As she walked briskly, the shadows shifted. A figure emerged behind a tree, a trick of the light, she rationalized. But her instinct blared warnings, something was wrong. Out of sight but not out of mind, the figure moved with an unnatural stillness. Mia quickened her pace. The thick fog rolled in like a shroud, fogging her thoughts, but that figure was etched in the back of her mind. She barely noticed her own breath hitting the cold air until she reached her car, locked the doors behind her, and flinched at every sound. Pulling away, she found relief slowly stretching across her body, but it was fleeting. The woods felt alive, shadows whispering of things that lurked, tormenting her thoughts as she sped home. The unsettling presence stayed with her, wrapping around her spine like icy fingers. The fear clung to her, refusing to dissipate, even when she tucked her children in beside her. That night dragged on. The haunting whispers resonated in the silence of her home, suffocating her. Unable to sleep, Mia rummaged through the dusty belongings left by her late husband, seeking answers. Their marriage had been filled with warmth and love, but beneath it lay a history of secrets. Old letters and warped photographs spilled from a box, revealing connections between her family and those lost in the woods. One letter, written in her husband's careful script, sent her heart racing. He had noted strange symbols and rituals tied to the cabins, tales of families marked by a curse that had haunted them. She felt a shiver crawl up her spine. How could this have slipped her mind? The children must never know. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Reports of missing children hung in the air like a noose around her neck, and the town's demeanor shifted. Friendly smiles morphed into guarded expressions. A once trusted neighbor was now shadowed by suspicion. The darkness felt heavy, crawling into her dreams, whispering the names of those long-lost, bad omens, and a hidden truth she could not escape. When she heard a rustling outside her window one night, the terror shot through her like a jolt of electricity. Panic clawed at her throat, tightening, suffocating. She couldn't call for help, the police were impotent against the town's deep-rooted fears. Could the figure from the woods have come for her? With every breath, the weight of the horror pressed down harder. The forest loomed ever closer, its dark heart beating in rhythm with her dread. As dread seeped into her bones, she wrestled with the only choice left: confront the shadows of her past or risk becoming another whispered name in the folklore of the lost. Would she stand firm against the legacy threatening to engulf her family? The woods were waiting, and the unending call of the cursed cabins lingered in the stillness of the night. Mia's mind raced with thoughts that twisted like the dark branches outside her window. Every creak of the old house echoed that haunting letter, each word a nail driven into her resolve. How could she protect her children if her very bloodline was entwined with mystery and fear? She paced the narrow hallway, shadows playing tricks with her eyes. The air grew thick, almost electric, as if the house itself was alive, watching, waiting. She stopped at the front door, her heart pounding in her chest, images of spirited faces lost in the woods flashing in her mind. A chill swept through her, and the urge to retreat felt like a dark claw gripping her heart. Something outside thudded against the door. Mia jumped, pulse racing as dread filled her veins. It was a faint sound, yet it struck a deep chord of terror. Had that figure followed her home? Panic gripped her, and the thought of fleeing to the safety of another neighbor crossed her mind. But what if the neighbor was part of this twisted fate? She forced herself to breathe, feeling her trembling hands curl into fists. No, she couldn't run. Not now. Not when she was so close to the truth. Drawing a steadying breath, she picked up the heavy flashlight lying on the table, its weight reassuring amidst the chaos. Mia opened the door, the handle cold against her palm. She tried to pull it gently but hesitated. What if she found the figure out there, waiting for her? But she needed answers. The woods called to her in a way she couldn't explain. She stepped outside, greeted by the bitter air that tasted of fear and uncertainty. The porch creaked under her weight, and she squinted into the darkness, flashlight beams slicing through the night. It revealed nothing but the suffocating shadows swaying in the breeze. She took a step forward, dread pulling at her, sparking an instinctive urge to run. With a gulp, she called, "Who is there?" The sound of her voice echoed back, swallowed by the eerie silence. It was as if the world held its breath, waiting for her to uncover whatever lay in the darkness. Something rustled again, louder this time, deep within the forest. Mia's heart raced. It was an invitation or a warning she couldn't tell. She took another step closer to the edge of the woods, her curiosity tipping dangerously into recklessness. "Is someone there?" she asked again, her voice shaking, and then she saw it. A flash of movement, a shadow among the trees, gliding just within the reach of the heavy fog. Mia's breath quickened as it vanished as suddenly as it appeared, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of loss and fright. She felt the woods breathe around her, a pulse hidden within each ancient tree, each rustling leaf. "Stop!" A voice shrieked from the depths of her mind, but Mia remained frozen. The urge to turn back battled against the compulsion to move forward. She felt the twisted roots of her past digging deeper, pulling her toward that shadowy figure, toward the dark secrets that had entwined themselves within her family line. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a glimmer at the base of a nearby tree. Rushing forward, curiosity drowned out her fear. It was a small wooden box, worn but intricately carved with the very same symbols her husband had written about. Just as her fingers brushed against it, a howl sliced through the night, a low, haunting sound that sent chills racing down her spine. The unease in her stomach twisted into raw terror. She had a choice: take the box and delve into the dark past, or abandon it, allowing the woods to consume whatever lay beneath them. Mia's fingers hovered hesitantly above the box. The forest stilled, the air felt thick, waiting for her decision. Would she uncover the cruel truths or remain blissfully ignorant of her fate? As she inhaled deeply, she knew her heart would soon lead her down a path of no return. The whispers of the woods began to rise, swirling in a chorus of soft hisses and laughter. What would she unleash by opening that box? What legacy awaited her? There were questions only the night could answer. With trembling hands, Mia flicked open the lid, the hinges creaking like a waking beast. In that moment, the figure emerged from hiding, closer now than ever before. The figure stepped into the beam of her flashlight, and Mia's breath caught in her throat. It was a woman, pale and gaunt, her eyes like black holes sucking in the light. A long, tattered dress fluttered about her, seeming to absorb the darkness rather than reflect it. Mia staggered backward, gripping the box tighter, as the woman's expression twisted into an unsettling grin revealing teeth too sharp to be human. "Open it," the woman hissed, her voice a whisper that slithered through the air, curling around Mia's spine like icy tendrils. "You've already set the stage." Mia shook her head, heart racing. The woods felt alive, shadows lengthening around her as if they were daring her to make a fatal mistake. The howl still echoed in her mind, a reminder of the peril that surrounded her, an ominous chorus urging her not to linger longer. "What do you want from me?" Mia managed to croak out, her voice trembling. caught between fear and defiance. Your past. Your legacy, the woman replied, tilting her head as if it amused her. You feel it, don't you? The pull of your bloodline. Mia's fingers still hovered over the box. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to flee, but that same pulse that drew her into the woods now whispered promises from the depths of the container. Your children, I can protect them, the woman continued, stepping closer, her breath chilling the air around Mia. But the truth must come first. You must embrace what you are. Stay away. Mia barked, shoving the box against her chest, almost as a shield. The symbols carved into the wood seemed to thrum with energy, resonating with the very melody of the night. Power rose from within it, vibrating against her skin. The woman halted, her dark eyes narrowing. You think you can hide from the truth? You're too late, she sneered, pointing toward the forest. A sudden rustle broke the stillness, and Mia felt her blood run cold. Shapes began to slink between the trees, emerging from the fog figures with twisted, gnarled limbs, faces obscured by shadow. They seemed to know her, to beckon with outstretched arms, calling her deeper into the night where secrets slept. Join them, the woman urged, her voice rising in a tempest. Or face the consequences of your defiance. Mia's heart thundered, every beat drumming a warning. She couldn't let her children fall into this abyss. Not a chance. With a surge of desperation, she tore her gaze from the figures and looked into the woman's eyes. Who are you? The question burst from her lips, more a demand than curiosity. I am your past, your future, your salvation, the woman echoed, her smile widening in the dark. With this box, you can choose to be free of it or be forever claimed. As if provoked by her question, the shadows surged forward, a wash of cold enveloping Mia, drowning out her breath. The trees leaned closer, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands. She could feel the box pulsing beneath her grasp, each beat echoing louder than the last. Summoning all her courage, Mia shouted, "No. I want to be a part of whatever this is." The figures hesitated, drawn back as if her words had severed some invisible thread. The woman's expression turned from glee to rage, her eyes flashing dangerously. Then this night will seal your fate. Suddenly, the box trembled in her grip, a shattering sound erupting from within, the force unleashing a blinding light that swallowed the darkness whole. The world spun around Mia, and in that moment of chaos, she gripped the box tighter, straining to brace herself against the tide of shadow and light. When the light receded, silence fell, pressing against her ears like a weight. Mia blinked, trying to regain her bearings. The woods were still. The figures vanished. But as she looked around, dread settled deep in her gut. Then she heard the faintest whisper on the wind, seductive and sinister. You think it's over? This is just the beginning. Mia's heart raced, the shadows around her starting to coalesce once again. What had she unleashed? And what would come for her next? Deep down, she knew, she had only scratched the surface of a dark legacy. Panic clawed at her throat. What now? The woods shifted again, reclaiming their breath as if they had all been waiting for something to happen. Mia felt her heart pounding as she glanced back at where the figure had stood, but the woman was gone. Had she imagined the whole thing? The box boiled over with urgency, its texture warm against her palm, a warning and an invitation at once. With each passing second, the shadows swelled once more, swirling ominously around her, hungry for more. She could almost feel the whispers like a dark wind, curling through the trees, urging her to listen. The truth awaits, they seemed to sing. Embrace your fate. Mia couldn't let this be the end. Her children needed her. Taking a shaky breath, she forced herself to focus. She needed to find a way out of this madness, but instinctively, she knew it wouldn't be that easy. A branch snapped loudly behind her, and Mia spun around, the flashlight flickering with the same frantic energy coursing through her body. Footsteps echoed through the silence, heavy and deliberate. Out of the thin fog emerged a figure, another woman, shorter, with wild hair tumbling around her face. Mia realized she was gripping the box even tighter, as if it were anchoring her to some reality. "Mia," the stranger's voice broke, thick with pain. "You have to listen to me." "Who are you?" Mia asked, suspicion lacing her words. She stepped back, wary. I'm your ancestor. I'm here to help you." The woman's hands shook as she reached out, palms open, communicating fear, desperation. "You need to understand it's all connected." "Connected?" She barely recognized her own voice, fractured and wary. "The box, it holds our family's secrets. Secrets that were meant to stay buried. You need to open it, but only if you're ready to see the truth," the woman pleaded, urgency clinging to her every word. "If you don't, they will come, and they won't stop until they claim what's theirs." Mia's mind raced back to the figures she had seen. You couldn't escape the inescapable. "Who will come? What do you mean?" "If you don't open it," the ancestor continued, her voice trembling, "the darkness will turn on you and your children. They seek to fulfill a pact as old as the blood in your veins. You'll be the sacrifice." The stakes rose in Mia's chest. "You want me to open this box? What if it releases something worse?" "The truth cannot hurt you more than the lies," the ancestor pressed, her eyes wide and frantic. Mia felt a chill grip her spine. Shadows danced along the forest floor, as if celebrating, eager for the pass. She could hear the wind murmuring around her, promising power and pain, a seductive invitation that threatened to drown her. Feeling trapped, she ran her fingers over the ancient carvings on the box, hesitation freezing her breath. Every ounce of logic screamed for her not to do it. Her children could perish if she failed, but could she really take the risk? Then came the desperate howl again, this time closer, more menacing. The trees shivered in response, responding to a call she couldn't hear, but felt in her bones. Mia's heart raced as she stared into her ancestors' pleading eyes, torn between the weight of tradition and the life of her children. She couldn't ignore that this was connected to her legacy, and yet the darkness seemed to spark with life around them. Finally, she raised the box, her fingers trembling as they found the latch. "I can't wait any longer," she whispered to herself. In that moment, she made her choice. Before she could hesitate again, she tore it open, taking one last breath, exposing herself and everything she held dear to whatever lurked within. What now? Would the shadows claim her? Would the past be her ally or her executioner? As the box creaked open, a gust of wind surged through the air, swirling and howling like a banshee thrumming in protest. The shadows lunged, eager to break free, and then the ground began to tremble. Mia stared into the blackness that spilled from the box. "What have I done?" She gasped as the woods began to close around her. Was this the beginning of her salvation or the end of everything? She knew. The darkness beckoned, and she could feel its fingers brush against her skin. What horror awaited her inside? A chill enveloped Mia as she looked into the opening box. The darkness within pulsed like a living thing, brimming with secrets that wanted to be unleashed. She felt the weight of her ancestor's desperate gaze urging her onward. The earth beneath her trembled, and the whispers intensified, now a cacophony calling her name, echoing in her mind. "Mia, Mia," the sound was haunting, seductive, a longing she didn't understand but craved nonetheless. Suddenly, from the box, a thin, twisting tendril of shadows shot out, reaching for her. It brushed against her hand with icy precision, sending a jolt through her arm. Pain shot through her, like a million needles pricking her skin. "Close it!" screamed the ancestor, her voice filled with panic. "You don't know what you're unleashing." Mia hesitated, but the darkness seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. The ground shook again, fierce, alive and eager, urging her to release whatever it was bound in that box. She could feel it. A sickening hunger thrummed in the air around her, whispering promises of power and knowledge. "Open yourself to the truth," it seemed to beckon. "Embrace what has been denied. Stop. Just stop." Mia shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of her fears. But it was too late. The tendril had coiled around her wrist, pulling her closer, forcing her to peer into the swirling abyss of secrets. The forest around her warped, and the world she knew began to flicker like an old television set. Shadows twisted into terrifying, warped shapes, faces and forms she couldn't comprehend. They leered, their mouths stretching into grotesque grins, beckoning her deeper into their murky depths. Mia's heart raced like a wild animal trapped in a cage. "What do you want from me?" she cried out, voice trembling. "Your blood. Your pain. Your truth." The voices roared in unison, echoing in the trees, haunting her. They were hungry and insatiable. Dread pooled in her stomach. The darkness wasn't just there to reveal, it was there to consume. She struggled against the shadow binding her, panic settling like a weight in her chest. She thought of her children. What would happen to them if she succumbed? "I need to protect them," she shouted, battling through the oppressive terror. The tendrils tightened, and she gritted her teeth against the pressure. "Let go." She swung her arm, sending a wave of desperation through her body. With a sudden surge of will, she managed to dislodge the shadow. It recoiled, hissing, revealing every haunting face in the forest behind her. "Foolish girl. You cannot escape your lineage. You cannot ignore the pact." With renewed strength, Mia pushed back against the shadows. The box trembled violently in her grip, and she felt an odd sensation at her core, an ancestral rage that burned deep in her veins. Taking a deep breath, she shouted, "I choose the truth." As she forced the words from her lips, the shadows writhed violently as a fracture splintered through the air, and a blinding light erupted from the box. It was both painful and beautiful as it consumed the darkness, writhing and screaming as it was drawn back into the void. Mia stumbled back, shielding her eyes, the forest erupting in turmoil. The wind howled, the trees twisted, and the ground shook. The wails of those shadows echoed in the air, desperate, shrill. Then, silence fell. Warily lowering her hand, she found herself standing amidst a thin mist with fragments of light dancing through. The box lay open, empty, and the figure of her ancestor stood beside her, eyes wide with shock. "Mia, you have changed everything. What did I unleash?" Mia whispered, breathless, as a new fear pooled in her chest. The air thickened, and the distant rustle of movement began to emerge through the trees. "What now?" Mia breathed, dread creeping back into her heart. "What have I awakened?" The woods crackled with a danger she felt in the marrow of her bones. As they stood together, a chill wind swept through the clearing, filling the space with hushed whispers. They were not alone. What had she truly set free? The silence was deafening, hanging thick like the fog that clung to the trees. Mia's heart pounded fiercely in her chest as she cast a frantic glance at the face of her ancestor. The woman's features had transformed, once resolute and commanding, now shadowed by fear. "What did you bring forth, Mia?" she whispered, eyes darting toward the dense forest that felt alive with menace. The air trembled, and from the depths of the trees came a low growl, a sound that rumbled like distant thunder. It crackled through the leaves, wrapping around Mia like a cold embrace. She took a step back, instinct screaming at her to flee. But where could she run? The ancient pact had been revealed, and whatever dark force she had unleashed held her in its sights. "Mia, listen to me." Her ancestor's voice rose above the din, urgent and harsh. "You must remember there are consequences to embracing the truth. What you awaken needs sustenance." "What do you mean?" Mia snapped, panic surging in her veins. She felt the shadows swirling within the mist like hungry wolves, primal and restless. "I didn't mean to disturb anything. I thought it would end the curse." The older woman's gaze softened momentarily. "Ah, child. It goes deeper than you know. You've drawn the attention of forces beyond this realm. They want something from you, something very personal." Mia's skin crawled with recognition. The whispers she heard earlier were raging louder now, drowning out her thoughts, each voice entwined in a symphony of dread. "What do they want?" she demanded, her voice barely a whisper, filled with horror. The scream of a raven broke through the tension, and Mia flinched as the darkness pressed in closer. Shadows flared around the clearing, twisting like smoke into ghastly shapes. She could see them now, figures moving through the tree lines, silently observing, their eyes glinting with hunger. "They want a sacrifice," her ancestor replied, grim determination etched on her weary face. "They feed on fear, on pain. And you, Mia, offered both the moment you defied the darkness." A sob caught in Mia's throat as the truth crashed over her. "No. I won't give them anything. I'm a mother. I have to protect my children." The voice from the shadows taunted her, a chilling whisper that curled around her mind. "Children so sweet and innocent. Wouldn't it be a shame if they suffered for your defiance?" She stumbled back, thoughts of her family flooding her heart with despair. "Stay away from them!" she screamed, adrenaline igniting her desperation. But the very trees around her seemed to lean in, as if eager to witness the reckoning. The shadows slithered closer, and Mia sensed that they would take what they wanted one way or another. "Do you see now, Mia?" her ancestor cried, a heavy sadness in her eyes. "It was never about you choosing the truth. It was about the truth choosing you. If you wish to save them, you must make a choice." "What kind of choice?" Mia's voice trembled, fear warping her thoughts. In that moment, a figure emerged from the darkness, rising through the mist with an eerie grace. It was a silhouette, distinctly human but draped in the essence of everything that Mia now feared. "I choose the soul of your lineage," it echoed, the voice low and reverberating with a chilling promise. Mia's breath caught. She saw it now, the embodiment of her ancestors' choices, and they were not free from the curse. This dark figure raised its arms as if to invite her to step forward. Her heart raced, and as the reality dawning on her clawed at her sanity, she realized what lay ahead. Would she offer herself to save her children? Or would she risk everything, unleashing further destruction? The breathless silence was back, expectant and heavy. She stood at the precipice of dread, knowing that her next decision would seal her fate and perhaps that of her family's. "What must I do now?" she whispered, feeling their eyes, both her kin's and the dark figures, heavy upon her. As the shadows closed in, darkness and light began to intertwine, and a single word echoed through the forest: "Choose." With the remnants of silence thrumming around her, Mia found herself standing at the crossroads. The time had come for her to confront the dark legacy she had awakened, but the true horror awaited her reply. Would the truth forge a path to salvation, or deeper into the abyss? The figure loomed closer, an ever-shifting mass of darkness, waiting for her to act. Mia could feel its presence like a weight on her chest, suffocating and oppressive. The whispers in the trees grew louder, a cacophony of despair clawing at her sanity. "Choose," they chanted, echoing through the fog like a twisted mantra. Every instinct within her screamed to fight, to resist, but her thoughts spiraled in a whirlwind of panic. What could she do against a force this ancient, this powerful? Would surrendering herself truly save her children, or was it yet another cruel trick, a method to draw her deeper into the darkness? Mia, her ancestor's voice was a soft plea now, filled with sorrow that twisted like a knife in Mia's heart. "You must understand, the pact is not just between you and it involves all of us, all of our blood. You have to decide." Standing at that crossroads, the weight of generations bore down on her. Images of her children filled her mind, wide smiles, laughter, innocence untainted by this darkness. A surge of strength shot through her, fueled by their faces. "No!" she cried, her voice breaking the silence like a shattered glass. "I won't let this take them. I won't." The dark figure recoiled slightly, as though her defiance had startled it. A panicked thrill coursed through her. Maybe she could resist. Maybe she could break the cycle. But the shadows only writhed with delight, eager for her to falter. "Foolish girl," it hissed, voice dripping with malice. "You think this ends, here, without a price?" A shiver ran down Mia's spine as she recalled the tales she'd heard as a child about sacrifices and vengeance. The price was always high, and someone always had to pay. But her children would not be those who bore the burden. "Tell me what you need," she shouted, the fierce determination in her voice quaking against the shadows. "I'll do anything to save them." A twisted smile spread across the figure's shadowy visage. "How quaint. But it's not merely a matter of what I need, it's what the pact demands. A choice, blood for blood." Stop. Her heart raced. "My blood is not yours to take." But in that moment, she felt the pull, a dark compulsion rising within her. It wrapped around her limbs, clawing for release. Mia's ancestor stepped forward, desperation in her eyes. "Think of your children. This entity thrives on fear, but if you confront it, it loses power. You are stronger than it knows." She caught her breath, realizing her true power wasn't just in her fear, but in her love. "I refuse to feed you," she screamed, her voice cutting through the sinister laughter. Imagining her children safe and warm, she summoned every ounce of willpower. She would burn through the darkness. As she bent her head, not in surrender but in focus, the shadows surged forward like a ravenous tide. Her blood pulsed with heat, awakening something dormant within her, something forged from her own lineage. "Then take me," she demanded. "You want a sacrifice? Then take it from me." At her words, the shadows froze, a moment's stillness rippling through the forest. Silence rang out between Mia and the figure, a pregnant pause, electric and thick with consequence. But then the mist coiled around her like a python, wrapping tighter as darkness swarmed to engulf her. "It's not that simple, Mia. You can't escape, you've already chosen." In that second, the air crackled with an unseen force. Waves of dread crashed through her, the weight of her choice teetering on a knife's edge. What would she lose? What would she save? Time seemed suspended as the shadows lunged for her. Mia felt the consumed cries of her ancestors swirling around her, voices pleading, warning, urging. She was drowning in their weight and horror when suddenly, through the fog, a glimmer surfaced. A single, piercing light broke through the blackness, shimmering with hope. "Mia, hold on." Her ancestor's voice echoed with clarity. What would that light cost her? Gripped by fear and confusion, would she reach toward it, or collapse into the shadows behind her? And with that question lingering in the air, the darkness shivered with anticipation, waiting for her to choose again. Mia felt a pulse of warmth as the light beckoned her, slicing through the fear that clung like a cold sweat. It flickered above the shadows, dancing gently, embodying every promise of safety and hope. She instinctively took a step forward, driven by a need to protect the laughter of her children, the sound of innocence she refused to allow the darkness to consume. The figure hissed, a sound so sharp it sliced through her resolve. "You cannot escape your fate, child. Running toward the light only strengthens the shadows behind you." But Mia's heart drummed loud against her ribcage. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, the sweet scent of soil and damp leaves grounding her. She remembered their faces, their smiles shining brightly even in the darkest of nights. The pull of the light felt alive, wrapping her in a cocoon of warmth. It whispered promises of freedom, of breaking chains that had bound her lineage for centuries. With eyes still closed, she whispered, "I choose love." Her words, grounded in unwavering conviction, flicked away the shadows that sought to tether her. Instantly, the darkness around her roared in fury, hurling shards of dread at her. It encircled her limbs, pulling, tugging, an animal fighting to reclaim its prey. "You are a fool," it screeched, the voice laced with venom. "You invite suffering, not salvation." Mia staggered, struggling against the binding shadows that clawed and screeched, desperate to drag her back into the abyss. She visualized her children, felt their laughter echoing through her soul like a beacon, guiding her safely toward a brighter path. Her blood warmed with a newfound energy, swathes of embers igniting within her, a defiance ready to explode. "Enough!" she roared, feeling the power of her ancestors surge through her veins. "You will not take what is mine." The shadows trembled, a quaking ripple of uncertainty ran through them, as though her determination was a sword cutting through their very essence. The swirling blackness shifted, creating pockets of vacuity filled with her ancestors' sorrowful whispers. She screamed only for them, each syllable woven with love and fury. "I will not feed you." As her words reverberated within the dark, the glimmer of light surged closer, coalescing into a solid form, a figure wreathed in luminescence and strength. An outline of an ancestor, fierce yet comforting, emerged, hand outstretched towards Mia. "Together, we can face it." Fueled by love and ancestry, Mia grasped the phantom hand. The light exploded, flooding the forest with blinding brilliance, and as it did, the shadows shrieked in unison, a dissonant symphony of threats. The vile breaths of the figure twisted, almost human, yet grotesque, palpitating in its desperation. "Flee now, while you still can." It roared, but the words cracked and faded beneath the blaze of hope that encased Mia and her ancestor. As they stood arm in arm, a wall of light pushed outward, engulfing anything dark that dared to touch them. Mia felt the weight of others pulling at this tether, the siblings, the mothers lost to shadows over generations, all uniting in this defiance. The corners of her vision filled with faces long gone, some she recognized, others she could only feel, but as the shadows screamed and fractured, the darkness retreated, she felt a gnawing question. What if the cost wasn't just her soul? The echoes of threats faded away into the darkening trees, yet the weight of sacrifice loomed over her. What would be left once the light faded? What would she lose in the light's embrace? And as the remnants of darkness slithered away, a sharp slice of dread settled in her gut. Shadows had receded, yes, but they were not gone. Suddenly, a flicker of movement broke the glow behind her. She turned, her heart seized in cold terror at the sight of a figure, not dark this time, but strangely familiar. "Mia," it called, voice dulcet yet ominous, "you've only just begun." With dread clenching her heart, she wondered, had she truly banished the darkness, or had she awakened something far worse? Mia blinked, the familiar voice wrapping around her like a dark shroud. The light struggled to hold its ground as her heart raced, the warmth faltering at the edge of her foundation. The figure stepped into her field of vision, revealing familiar features twisted in a haunting blend of love and malice. It was her sister, Claire, but something in her eyes was lost, replaced with something darker. "Mia," she repeated, stepping closer with the grace of a stalking predator, "you can't close your eyes to what you are. You've only just scratched the surface." "No." Mia gasped, stepping back. The light flickered, casting uncomfortable shadows across Claire's face, accentuating the hollowness of her gaze. "You're not her. You can't be." "Oh, but I am," Claire said, her voice curling around the edges of Mia's mind, twisting and distorting into something unrecognizable. "It's not me who has changed, it's you. You're not the naive little girl they thought you were. You're stepping into your power. Embrace it." The shadows around them twisted, recoiling from Claire's words like a snake retreating from fire. The trees themselves seemed to groan, their limbs reaching out as if desperate to keep Claire from stepping closer to Mia. "Stay back!" Mia shouted, the momentum of her defiance crashing against the crushing weight of uncertainty. Fear gripped her heart as Claire's outstretched hand flickered with errant shadows. Was it love, or was it darkness that propelled her sister's steps? "Why do you fight it?" Claire taunted, her features softening, desperately pleading. "We both want to be free from the chains, Mia. Don't you remember our mother's stories? The ones of our ancestors. Their sacrifices. They could have been so much more if they had just accepted their true selves." Mia shook her head, clutching her hands into fists. The warmth of the light behind her pulsed like a heartbeat, urging her to stand firm. "No. I won't give in to the despair. Not again." But the ground beneath her feet trembled as Claire took one step further, a predator ready to pounce. "Despair? You think this is despair? Oh, Mia, if only you could see what we could become." Her words wrapped around the nearby trees, echoing back with a mocking resonance. With a sharp inhale, Mia remembered the laughter of her children, the way they filled every corner of her heart with joy. But Claire's presence stirred memories that made her stomach churn, whispers of the night their mother had vanished, lost to the very darkness Mia now confronted. "What happened to you, Claire? You died out there." Mia cried, her voice strained. "You became just another shadow." "Died?" Claire chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shards of ice down Mia's spine. "No, Mia. I awakened. Join me. We can embrace everything they feared." Suddenly, a bolt of shadow shot towards Claire, but it dissolved into the glow that protected Mia. The fight intensified, Mia felt the pull from both sides. The shadows screamed as they writhed against Mia's barrier, eager to drag her back toward the abyss. "Remember, Mia. You'll always be just like me." Claire's voice shifted, a dark melody wrapped in cursed affection. "No matter how brightly you shine, the darkness is still inside you." With every pulse of her heart, doubt gnawed at the edges of her conviction. The light flickered, a candle against the tempest threatening to engulf her soul, but she couldn't let this be the end. "I choose love," Mia whispered fiercely, the declaration echoing through her bones. But another chilling laugh erupted from Claire's lips. "What you call love, dear sister, is merely your weakness. And it'll be the death of you." Mia froze, fear wrapping around her like a noose. The light began to dim, the shadows regaining ground. A storm was brewing in the distance, she could feel it. The forest grew quiet, the air thick with anticipation. As Mia steadied her breath, knowing a choice loomed, a gut-wrenching thought crossed her mind: what if Claire was right? Without warning, the ground beneath her shattered into a vortex, and Mia felt gravity pulling her downward, a divergence between light and dark. A scream lodged in her throat, and with a desperate lunge, she reached for the light. But would it hold, or was she destined to plunge back into the very shadow from which she had tried to escape? The shadows whispered promises of power, and Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were preparing for something far worse, something unseen. What awaited her in that abyss? Mia felt herself teetering on the edge, the weight of the darkness pulling at her heartstrings. Panic clawed at her throat as she locked eyes with Claire, her sister-turned specter of gloom. "This isn't you. You don't belong to the shadows." Claire's eyes glinted with malevolence, morphing into an unsettling mix of nostalgia and rage. "You still don't get it, do you? This is who we are. We are destined to break the chains together. Stop fearing what you don't understand." The forest roared to life around them, and Mia could feel the fog swirling, ready to wrap her like a shroud. "You're wrong!" she screamed, clenching her fists as she summoned her courage. The darkness lunged, biting at her heels, but the warmth within her flared brighter. "I am not like you. I choose my own path. Your children are in danger." Claire's seductive voice sliced through the air, its poisoned sweetness making Mia's stomach churn. "If you refuse to embrace your power, they'll be taken, too." Mia hesitated. That fear sank deep, a truth tinged with the agony of her past. Her children. They were everything. She felt that truth harden within her and summoned the memories of their laughter, joy that cut through the shadows like a knife. "This isn't about power. It's about love," she shouted, defiance surging as the ground shook beneath her. "Mia, don't you see?" Claire took a step forward, but with a fervent leap, Mia edged back toward the light. The darkness churned, hissing, recoiling at her audacity, but the glow at her back surged with newfound strength. "No," Mia declared. "I choose love, and love means protecting them. I won't fall into this abyss, not now." The whispers of the ancestors roared in her ears, urging her onward. She wouldn't let her family be consumed by these nightmares. Before she could rethink it, she spread her arms wide. "I accept the truth. But only on my terms." The swirling shadows twisted violently, shrieking in rage as she pushed more light forth from her heart. It cascaded in waves, washing through the fog, unraveling the darkness surrounding her sister. The sharp cries danced away into the trees, their hold diminishing. Claire's face twisted in shock and fury. No. Mia, don't. But Mia didn't stop. She conjured the brightness of her love, focusing on her children's faces. Leave us. You will not take what is mine. The shadow lunged, but this time, Mia was ready. She summoned all her ancestral rage, her heart igniting with passion and defiance. I break the cycle. She screamed, and with one powerful thrust of her light, she shattered the veil between love and fear. The shadows twisted and curled in agony, splayed apart like rotten vines. Claire's form blurred, torn between the two worlds, confusion widening her darkened eyes. Mia's shout illuminated the fading nightmare. She felt the light pulsing through the earth, a boon of hope spreading like wildfire. Mia, Claire cried, a tremor of vulnerability slicing through her shadowy confidence. You're stronger than our lineage. Yes. Mia said, her determination steeled. And I choose my children. You can't have them. With that final cry, the light erupted, engulfing the forest in warmth. The shadows evaporated under the sheer force of Mia's will, howling as they were swept away. Claire's form flickered, slowly dissolving into the light. She gasped for breath, the pull of darkness fading, her features more human, more fragile. As the brilliance enveloped her, a new understanding flared in Mia's chest. It was love, fierce and unyielding, her true legacy. Slowly, silence replaced the cacophony of horror. The forest shifted, breathing anew, life rebounding through it. Mia felt tired but exhilarated. She had faced down the shadows and chosen light. Mom. A soft voice broke through the haze. Mia jolted, spinning around with a grin blossoming on her face. Her children, safe and beaming with untainted innocence, emerged from the trees, eyes wide with wonder. She dashed toward them, embracing them tightly. I'm so glad you're here. I promise to protect you. They melted into her arms, warmth flooding through her, casting away any fears that lingered. She looked over her shoulder. The shadows had receded, but she knew their whispers would never truly silent. I'm home, Mia breathed, the realization dawning on her, a bubbling joy seeking to bloom anew. As they turned and headed back through the woods, the trees sighed, their former malevolence fading into a gentle rustle, a recognition of her strength. Mia knew there would always be challenges, ghosts of the past that sought to reclaim her. But with each step, anchored beside her children, she embraced the truth. Love would always guide her through the darkness ahead, and as they left the forest behind, a pang of hope twisted in Mia's heart. The past had not been erased, but illuminated. A legacy transformed at last. Now, I need you to take a second and show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we have lined up. Smash that like button, too, it makes all the difference in feeding the algorithm. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, and please, flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter. This is the moment to be part of our journey.